The next part of this build required making the crown mold for both the headboard and the footboard. This is a bent piece of wood. I could have done it in lamination, but I decided to try to steam bend some wood to see how that worked. I've never made anything with steam bending, but I created this steam box here out of 2x6 treated lumber simply for economics. It was the cheapest way to build this thing. I've got my turkey cooker out here with a pot full of water, a short hose that goes up in there, and you can really see it steaming right here. I've got pieces of poplar that are 1/4 inch thick, and I think I can get it bent around the mold that I've created earlier out of the MDF.
So start up here.
Yeah, the top should be. I've got to get it all. Try the orange one over there. Yeah. This is not going to work, I don't think.
I don't know if it's going to make this bend.
Jeez, that was stupid. I mean, we're close. Really close. Really close. Thank you. Back to the door. Well, that was a fail. Am I going to give up? No, we were close. We were very close. So I'm going to make a couple of changes. One small change I made is I put got good steam coming out here already. I put the board in on the other end. This is an 8-foot board and a 10-foot steam box. So I thought maybe, you know, if it gets more steam down at that end. I cranked up the heat on the water heater. You can hear it roaring now. It's going to put a little more steam in it. I'm going to let it cook again for probably 45 minutes and then try it again. I'm also going to, we had some problems where my mold was a little bit wobbly there. I'm going to go ahead and cut down the MDF board to get rid of that excess that was on there when I used it as part of the base for the router bit. Hopefully it'll be strong enough that we can still mold around it. We'll see. It is really steaming in there now.
Yeah, there's steam coming off of it.
Well, you've got to get the screw cranked all the way.
I know, but you have to edit that part out.
Pretty much. Pretty happy with these results. I have a little bit of a twist right down here. It's looking up a little bit, but my mold is only 1 inch thick and the wood it's going to go on is 2 inches thick. It took a little more heat and that did it. Here's the top. Piece of mold, bent around. Didn't go as easy as I thought it would. Nearly as hard as the bottom one. I've got the footboard lined up here with the headboard. We're getting close. I've got to allow for wood movement here. This is cross grain, so I'm going to temporarily just screw this into place I'll eventually be putting in some 1/2-inch dowels. Why 1/2-inch dowels? Because I have them in the shop. The thing is, there's no glue in this joint, and this is completely fixable. If they break off a leg, I don't think that's going to happen. But there's no screws involved here, so it's an easy drill out and replacement. That's what I'm doing. This will allow me to flip this thing back and forth and not worry about the alignment on these legs. I've had to realign it every time I've moved it, and this is the first time these legs have even remotely been attached to this footboard. Not necessary, but for my own anal retentive self, I want to make sure these are aligned pretty well. Carry on. I have the dry fit set. This was a bugger bear to do. I ran out of clamps, so went to Lowe's, didn't like their selection, ended up going to my favorite Home Depot. These are Besley clamps, various degrees of strength. They didn't have a very good selection either. And although we had a really good steam bending session the other day, there was still a lot of spring back. So I'm going to let this dry fit relax in this position right here for a few hours and go visit my new granddaughter, baby Kate, for a few minutes and come back and give this a glue up. Time for the glue up. This sat in the mold overnight because when I got back from seeing baby Kate, it was very late. So it's the next day. I've set my 3/4 inch pipe clamps under this just to give me another clamp to clamp that to. I'm going to use Titebond 3. Titebond 3 has a little bit longer open time, and this is not going to be a short glue up. I know it's going to take me a few minutes to get everything in place, so the Titebond 3 will give me that extra time. Here goes. Wish me luck. I'm not going to lie to you. You can see me sweating. That was the hardest glue up of my life. I would clamp one, clamp and get it tight, and tighten up another one. One would fall off, and the other one would fall off. I had a lot of trouble getting it even on the back here. It's overhanging in a couple spots, but that's not a bad problem. The problem was it was under, and that would be hard to deal with. However, I really think this piece of trim adds a lot to the top. I'm going to put one more really thin piece of trim right here along the top. I'm going to leave this in the clamps overnight, and man, I don't know what's going to happen when I take these clamps off. The whole thing could spring apart. It's all going to be relying on Titebond 3 glue, and this will be a good test because this thing is still so springy. My other thought, if that doesn't hold, I'll take this one off and I'll steam it again, and then I'll use Gorilla Glue. That stuff foams up really badly, but it's the only kind of glue that I know of that will cure when it's wet, and in fact moisture makes it cure. So if this fails, hope it doesn't, that's my next plan. You may have noticed I also added these cleats down here. That was after I had such a hard time gluing it up yesterday. A little bit of a bow in the bed here. I think that'll come out. There's going to be a trim down here that I haven't made yet, so there's only 4 screw holes in there. That'll be covered up. Off to do some gardening. Today's the day. In just a few seconds, I'm going to take these clamps off and hope for the best. I'm also going to give myself a little bit of an insurance policy. I'm going to be using a Miller dowel. This is old technology. Miller dowels have been around for a long time. I've used them a lot. They come with a special drill bit. It's a step drill bit that matches the dowel. Now, I thought a lot about putting screws in the top of this and covering them with the dowel, but I have a bone to pick with Spanx here. They've changed the head of their screw. About a month ago, I bought these at the Big Orange Box, and this week I bought these. They say it's a Unidrive, but I've tried several different square bits in there and I can't get it to drive. They come with a Phillips No. 2 screwdriver head, but those aren't very, I couldn't get much torque on those. I wish they'd go back to this. I'm sure they've had a lot of complaints from homeowners that didn't have a star drill bit. Anyway, it is what it is. But this small head here is not going to give me a lot of insurance with that thing springing back. I think all the grooves in this dowel rod and this nice wide flange up here are going to be a much better option. So before I take off those last clamps, I'm going to be attaching these and leaving them in the clamps for at least 3 or 4 hours. Just removed that last clamp. No problem yet. I have some dents here. I'll be taking those out with some water and steam. But I'm going to go ahead and drill that Miller bit right now.